like at engaging your audience when you're presenting? Hello, my name is Greg Story. I'm the president of Dale Carnegie Training here in Japan and also the best-selling author of Japan Sales Mastery, #1 on Amazon. It's very interesting. I was at a presentation and the speaker was very, very smart, very well educated, very knowledgeable, had an absolute wealth of data and information to share with the audience. In fact, a little bit too much, I thought, in balance, and thinking about time and how much there was to be actually explained to the audience. But the other thing I noticed was that the ability to take all of that talent and all of that good information and then use it in a way that really engaged with the audience was lacking. And it became very much a case of speaker is here, audience is there, and there's no bridge between the two. Now, this can happen in business when we're presenting. We're very much involved with the content of what we're going to talk about, and we forget that our object is to not only pass information on to the audience, deliver some key messages, but also to engage with the audience to become one with us, to come with us on the journey we're going to take that audience on during that talk. So it was interesting for me that that barrier wasn't able to be penetrated. And I thought to myself, well, why is that? Why couldn't that speaker really break through that barrier and really engage the audience? I think there's a couple of things missing. One was the speaker was too tied up in the quality of what was on the screen. Big slide deck, lots of really good quality graphs, diagrams, data, all fantastic. But that's where the emphasis was. It wasn't on, I'm going to engage with this audience, I'm going to really sell them on my message, I'm going to use all this stuff on the screen as backup to what I'm saying in the presentation. It was actually, here's my main thing is the screen, and I'm just the person who's going to be working through the slide deck. Quite a different way of looking at things. The other thing is they didn't really use any particular techniques to engage the audience, like, for example, eye contact. It was one of those cases where the eye contact was evenly spread across everyone and therefore didn't really engage anyone. So this is very, very important. When we're speaking, and it was a pretty big audience, we've got to really be making sure we're making individual eye contact, about 6 seconds, for each person as much as we can in the audience. Making sure that it's not 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, not like that, not in order, random order, but trying to engage as many people as possible using our eyes. Because when we do that, only 6 seconds, it feels to them very much like the speaker is talking directly to me. Yes, there's a lot of people in the room, but they are speaking directly to me. That's very engaging. The other thing is to use questions. The speaker didn't use any questions. Now, there's two varieties of questions. There's the questions whose answer you don't need. You're just posing the question to get people to think. That's called a rhetorical question, and they're great because the audience is never quite sure, is this a real question I have to answer, or is this a rhetorical question? And the beauty of a rhetorical question is you don't waste time with the answers, because you might want to do that in the Q&A, but it has the same impact as they're not sure if they're going to answer it, so they have to think. You've now got them coming back to you in the room and thinking about what you're talking about, because with mobile devices, people can disappear. They can be thinking about the next thing they'll do in the afternoon, or what's happening tomorrow, or what's happening on the weekend, and they're not really listening to you. Their eyes are open, but they're not really there, right? So this is where we want to get them with us. Asking questions we're not sure they're going to have to actually physically answer or not is a great way of engaging them to think about some particular issue that we're bringing up to the audience, or something we want to emphasize. The other thing is actual questions. Now, it may not be asking for a person to speak up, because often that's, particularly in Japan, quite hard to get people to speak up in a big room like that. They won't say anything. Better to get them to raise their hands. Who's had this experience? And then you ask the question and you're raising your hand to model the reaction you want, to see if people will actually answer the question by raising their hand. If you say, who's had this particular experience, raise your hand, it's not as powerful as if you actually raise it yourself and say, who's had this particular experience? Please raise your hand. You model what you want them to do. That is very, very effective. Again, it creates a little bit of activity too. When people are sitting there, particularly if you've got a fairly long presentation, and people are getting a bit tired towards the end, any little bit of physical activity might be even get them to stand up. Those who've had this experience, please stand up. And then get them to stand up, and then they sit down again. Just that action of standing and sitting, it really gets the blood circulating, gets people awake. All right, so there are some things we can do through questioning skills, rhetorical or perhaps real questions, getting people to raise hands, stand up, and also eye contact. Now, obviously, when we get to Q&A, we get a chance to really engage with the audience. Another thing I should mention is don't make the Q&A a second speech. In this particular speaker's case, the questions came out, but the answers were incredibly long, too long. You've got many people in the audience want to ask you questions. Try and compact the answers down so that as many people as possible get to engage with you. So they have a question, you're going to answer it, next person, rather than thank you for your question, now I'm going to take another 10 minutes and talk in depth about that subject because I'm really knowledgeable and I've got a lot of information. That's not the point. We already know you're knowledgeable, we already know you've got a lot of information, you just sat through the last 40 minutes of a very in-depth presentation. Now's the chance for people to go a bit more to particular topics that interest them and have you talk about those. So when we're speaking, remember, it's not a one-way thing, it's not from us to them. It's very much two-way, and particularly we're trying to get ourselves to become part of the audience, to really become engaged with them, make us all feel together as a collective, not a barrier, speaker, audience. We're collectively together. We're all together on this. I'm with you, you're with me. And then if you do that, the audience will feel very close to you, feel very engaged with you, and they will remember your talk and remember you. And they'll remember you in a very positive way. And that is what we want.